one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could you please make sure that your phones are turned off or on silent? I don't have a visitor paper, so I'm assuming nobody's speaking. Sue, did you come to talk? Okay, I'm guessing it's a no. You got like 15 seconds to change your mind. Thank you. Oh yeah, Justine, you don't count, you're already on the agenda, but thank you for signing it anyway. All right, we'll get started. Mrs. Quackenbush, would you like to start us off?
So, if you don't know me, I'm Justine Quackenbush. I'm the 21st Century Project Director. I've been here for a while and a lot of different roles. This is just the most recent one. We just completed our summer program in the beginning of August. Amy Fink over here, she headed it up. It was really 99% her. She's great. As well as various school year staff members. We had some returning graduates. Community school staff helped out as well. And then we had some student workers from the high school, a couple from middle school as well, that we hired to be camp counselors, and they were great as well. Here's what our attendance looked like. Compared to last year we had 148, but last year we did not have UPK and we also didn't have 6th grade, so numbers are pretty much the same. And then I'm gonna let Amy Fink take over because it's really her thing and she made it happen.
Hi, I'm Amy Fink. I'm the program coordinator for the 21st Century Grant at Kyler. I've been here since 1998, and actually this is my first time I've actually spoken to the board. So I wrote down the things I thought you'd want to know, but if there's stuff you want to know, just feel free to ask up. So what I do when I start doing the program is I wait till they plan the summer school program, and then I work from there. So summer school went to 12:30 this year, so I was filling from 12:30 till 3 o'clock. What are we going to do? I usually start with 2 lists, the everyday list, the extra list. And I just kind of start making lists. This is what we're going to do, and then I try to meet all those needs. Swimming is usually the #1 priority. I think it's important for all kids to learn to swim. Cindy Wood heads that up. She does a wonderful job. She's taught many of our Kyler kids how to swim, and she does a phenomenal job with a great group of high school lifeguards, and many kids have learned to swim through Cindy Wood. And pretty much we try to get them in the pool every day, and I do my best not to cancel swimming unless we're not on site that day. So every kids pretty much swim every day. So this year, most groups, except for 2nd grade, had 3 rotations, 45 minutes each. Lunch was included in the morning portion, so they had 3 rotations. They didn't include lunch, except 2nd grade had 4. We had reading, which was headed up by Julie Yonker. She uses the Read to Me program, which is a book that all the kids, UPK through 6th grade, read the same book, or Julie reads it aloud, but they can also take a book and read it on their own. We did a Rover story this year, which I thought was a little bit higher, but the last couple we did I thought was more towards the lower end. And so, Julie reads it with the kids, they talk about it, they do activities with it. You walk in the room, the kids run up, they want to show you what they're doing, they're excited about it. Talking to Julie, she was very excited, like the things that the UPK, the kindergartners, the things that they could tell you about Rover. So, and she does a lot of research on it so that she can, fill in the gaps for the kids what they need to know. It's just been a really phenomenal program. And then Emily Wilson headed up our math program, and we use the Mega Math, and that one's totally different. You walk in, nobody wants to talk to you because it's games, and they're all playing games with each other. So they're busy. They don't want to talk to me when I walk in, and they're playing games with each other, and they're having a good time doing that. And all those games are based on the standards, and if you pull out the papers, you can see which standards they're following, and with that. Carly Nodine had a craft room. Kids could make different crafts. And then I had Mr. Goodman work in the gym with a PE portion. We had 4 teachers, and I decided that was the best fit to put our 4th teacher in, because if that's not a manned place, that's a place where it tends to be where kids would get in trouble, or also kids get hurt if it doesn't have a set activity for kids to do. just wonderful things were going on in there. I walked in there one day, and there's a group of kids playing tag on one side, and the kids that didn't want to were shooting baskets on the other. Just everybody was having a good time, you know, smiles all the way. If there wasn't anybody in the gym, Mr. Goodwin would go outside and help out on the playground and just, you know, see what he could do out there, help foster things going on with outdoor play. We also had a STEM room. When counselors went in there, they ran the STEM room, which we have like a STEM cart that has Legos and these sticks with things that they can build with. It has some little robot things and activities they can do with STEM. And then we do the playground. The kids can have like free play outside. We have indoor play, which is in the cafeteria, and we use the things that we use at the after-school program. We have like a whole wall of activities they can use. And then, like I said, we also have outdoor play. So those are our rotations all day. And what I do is I try to give everybody the same amount of time in each room. I actually do a spreadsheet and, you know, send them to each area. And then I go through our extra things. Some of the things we did this year, tie-dye. We do that every day, every year. Marnie Meta comes in and does a tie-dye. Kids love it. And one thing I had never really noticed, but this year in second grade, I teach in the morning. The day after they did tie-dye, I just happened to be talking to my class about it. And they could actually tell me like the 3 different ways you could make a tie-dye shirt. You could do this and it would come out like this. And if you did this type of thing, it would turn out. And when the tie-dye shirts came in, I could tell by what they had taught me that they had learned like the different methods. So not only is she just doing tie-dye with them, but she's also teaching them, you know, the different methods to do it, which I thought was really nice. And then later on in the year, we have an actual tie-dye day where they all wear their tie-dye shirts, and then we do like snow cones because they're like a tie-dye snack, and we have a tie-dye day and everybody wears their tie-dye shirts. We also took grades 3 through 6 to play miniature golf, and the K through 2, or UP K through 2, we went to SEMU, which is the Children's Museum in Oswego. And then we took everybody bowling at Lakeview Lanes and Fulton. When looking for field trips, first of all, we have to be able to get there between 12:30 and 3. And also I try to look for things that are either healthy, things that kids can maybe do in the future, things that are affordable that they couldn't possibly do in the future. And so those are things that fit all those things on the bill. Another thing that we did is we brought bounce houses in for the last day. Water slides, that's always a big one. We set those out down on the hill. The kids have a water slide day. We had a math assembly come in, which was, it's actually the magician that comes in during the middle of the school year. He also had, I noticed he had a math assembly, so we had a math assembly. And then along with that, we had it's like a scavenger hunt, but instead of just having a scavenger hunt, we made it a math hunt. So when they got to each thing, instead of just doing anything, every activity was based on math. And they had to do like a measuring thing and an adding thing. And some of it was differentiated depending on their grade level, some type of math thing, and then they move on to the next step. So those are just some of the different activities we did throughout the 4 weeks. Any questions?
How did you make it all this time without being forced to come to a board meeting? I mean, you have to be paying somebody off, Mrs. Fink. Well, you did really well, so. Thank you very much.
So also through 21st Century this year, we sent a group of about 20 elementary and a couple of middle school students to the Sheldon Institute and STEAM Camp at SUNY Oswego. I felt like the best way to explain it to you was to have the kids do it, so hopefully I can get these videos to play. Not at the same time. Is there not sound? I don't know what I'm doing here.
Go back and choose your question.
I thought that was the noise. Like it sounds like so many.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't think it's working still.
Is the computer speaker loud enough if you just unplug
but if you unplug it, you can always a baby off.
They look happy.
Well, they are happy. I basically just had them, I'll send it in an email so you guys can see
Okay.
it. But basically, they just told us what their favorite part about it was. As you can see by their smiling faces, they did really like it. I got back some pictures today from Chelsea. She's over at Studio Oswego. All the kids really look happy. And STEAM Camp's a little more popular than Sheldon is too, because it's more like robotics and playing with technology. But I will send them so you can see them. They're very cute. That's all I have for you today. Questions?
Was there a cap on the number of kids that we sent to
There
Sheldon?
was, so we could send 20 to Sheldon and 20 to the STEAM camp. Some kids only wanted to do one or the other, so we kind of had to mix and match. I think it was 22 children participated in some form.
Okay.
So basically to select those students, I send out emails to all their teachers from the school year and have them recommend some students that might really enjoy it. And then whatever spots are left, I pushed out and first come first served after that.
So did we end up having to cut anyone off from not going?
I managed to fit, I believe, all but one or two people that emailed me. Anything
Great.
else?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce the next speaker?
Sure.
Thanks.
So as we kind of shift gears quickly here, our next presenter, Jay Roskup, I invited Jay here. Jay runs a lot of the work that we use through community schools, through our grants with Wayne County Community Schools. You know, and to me, it's one of those things that when the people inside the school, community schools, grants, are very common language for us. The work that he does and the work that his team do is very common for us, but I realize that may not be common for everybody else, so I thought it would be great. You know, oftentimes we say, well, it's grant funded, but we have multiple different grants, right? Justine and Amy just presented on 21st Century, which is a whole different grant pool than a lot of the work that Wayne County Community Schools services can provide us. So I thought having Jay come and explain maybe what some of the community school model looks like and some of the work that's included in that would be helpful for us as we go through the year and you hear some of those different events or activities that take place. So I'll turn it over to Jay Roskup.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, everybody. So when we talk about community school, I want to make sure that folks are using a similar definition, and I also wanted you to think about, geesh, you know, where are you as a district? You're in a really cool place where you are overlapping two counties, and I think there's an opportunity to reach for resources from both counties rather than just one, and give you some examples of some programs and practices. So really quick, if we ask what is a community school, it is a little bit like asking what is a ham and cheese sandwich. Right? It's, you know, ham and cheese. So it's the community and the school coming together. So almost any time the community and the school comes together to help kids and help families, you're doing community schools. Now, because we're educators, we can complicate anything, and that's what we did. There's models of community schools all over the place, from all over the nation, but there's been some great work recently to try and bring everybody together to just use this diagram. So you just saw examples of students flourishing in school communities, and you saw examples of, in the orange there, school faculty, of community partners, of youth and families coming together to make that happen. And you know, we are all the time seeing great leaders like Justine and great leaders like Jen Devaney and Matt, really make sure that there's a shared vision, that people are included. There's that great community schools advisory board that happens here. We've got over like 40 folks coming together. And you can see that as they're working together, pulling off these spectacular programs, they're developing those trusting relationships to provide those key practices in the light blue. All right, and so those key practices, like you saw just now, 21st Century expanded and enriched learning opportunities, that was all summer long, and young people are learning all the while there. And that's something that, again, we would say is exemplary of a school that's thinking beyond just 7:30 to 2:30, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And the key thing that I want you to know about community schools is you may hear San Francisco community schools, or Miami community schools, or Nashville community schools. This is Wayne County community schools and Red Creek community schools. And that just means that what we do here comes from here. So it is a national model that says local control is important, and that local voice is important, and that what folks say here really needs to contribute then to the experience that young people have. And that's something that we really just want to encourage. So there's 40-something slides on this. I'm going to throw these up there, some examples and stuff that you can look up later. And there's a timeline of this developing across the state. Community schools is not new. It is really about, right, like, it goes all the way back to the 1800s. And then our own effort really got started kind of when we did Safe Schools Helping Students grant. After the Columbine shooting, there were federal dollars, okay, that came down. And they said, geez, it would be great if the government worked together. Because a lot of times that's what community schools is doing. We're trying to take dollars for youth and for families that are scattered all over in all of these different systems. There are dollars in the Department of Social Services for youth and families. There's dollars in Office of Addictions and Substance Abuse Services for children and families. There's dollars in the Office of Mental Health for children and families. But a lot of times those people are sitting in offices like miles from here. So this school can become a place that draws those resources in, organizes them, and it's based on what fits here. Okay, so that 21st Century program, those are federal dollars that go to the state. There's an application that from this district that went to the state that drew those dollars down here and said, hey, there's a need. We can organize to meet that need. And now you're getting great programming for kids. But that comes out of the federal budget, and it's got to be localized and brought here and made sense here. So who made the decisions about what the programming is for the summer? All of those decisions are here, right? And so that's how do we get the resources here so that the people that know what's going on in this place can make good stuff happen for kids. And the 21st Century grants early on were a key jumping off point for our community schools work, and now we have a large $3 million a year full service community schools grant for Wayne County, where we've got 16 community school coordinators. We had a great one. And then the district stole it back. No, but seriously, that's part of the community schools work, right? It's like, so it's just who's doing great stuff, and now Eliza obviously is also doing excellent work. And a community school coordinator is really a key piece for that. So all of our districts in the county of Wayne are adopting the community school strategy, mainly because in our rural areas, quite frankly, you can call it community schools or not, but you were doing it already. All of our schools are doing it already. I went to a presentation on community schools in an urban area, and they said, oh, great, we got this big fancy policy passed. We're gonna let our kids play on the playground after hours. Like, you weren't doing that already? Like, families couldn't just come use the playground? So, like, that to them was an example of community schools, but here, we do it so naturally, sometimes we forget to call it that. But when we can name it that, and we can do that intentionally, and we intentionally invite resources in, we can get more dollars in. And that can mean like helping cover things like field trips. I was really impressed by that question of, was there anybody that wanted to go that you couldn't send? Because what I heard in that question is, as a Board of Education, we want to make sure that all of our young people have every opportunity they can have. And one of the ways you can do that as a board is when you engage in the community school strategy, there are other people that will pay for things that your kids need. And then you can use the dollars that you have for the stuff that only you can pay for. And that's part of what we're doing, is trying to organize the resources in an intelligent way. Because what, Matt can't reach me from here or throw anything at me, so I'm gonna tiptoe towards politics, but I'm not gonna cross over the line. The reality is that our tax dollars all go up, and when they come back down, they don't come down in one block for like, here, Red Creek, figure out how to use this. The sheriff's office gets dollars, and the Office of Mental Health gets dollars. and the school system gets dollars. And then somehow we have to get those to come back together and make sense here. Community schools is a way to do that. How can we get the community and the school to take their budgets together, to ask for dollars from philanthropic grants, you know, whether it's the ESL Foundation, the Rochester Area Community Foundation, or you guys being situated in the middle, Central New York Foundation, and then maybe, I was talking about a whitewater rafting trip. There might be a group that would be, geesh, you know, if the kids will take some time and do some studies on whatever it is, erosion, I don't know, while they're there. But, you know, we have seen poverty here really increase, the rates of poverty across the region. Wayne County now has over 50% of young people that need free or reduced lunch. That doesn't mean that there are a lot more people who are living in poverty, but it means a lot of people who had means moved away. There are fewer students than there were 20 years ago, but the students who remain are more likely to need free or reduced lunch. So now we're up to the part where our ratio is about 50% free or reduced lunch. You would expect that our graduation rates and other things would drop, but they haven't, and I think a lot of that is because we've been really intentional about collaborating. We share models, like we've got our own collaboration arch that I won't go into depth into. We think about tiered supports. You guys have probably heard about MTSS multiple times. And we're really just trying to see, like, geesh, what can we organize and what can we do that can help build the healthy, vibrant young people we all want to see. Matt, again, as we were coming to the door, he was like, oh, that's great, you got a nutritionist that can come in and share about nutrition for, you know, at no cost to the district for all the athletes. I'm like, yep, you know, that's part of our health and the arch model. So we are data driven. We try and get to root cause. Obviously, leading cause of teen death in the United States, suicide and homicide. So we're trying to just keep young people safe and alive. This is one of the things we want to look at. So we don't just say, like, geez, how can we stop this one bad thing? We look at what are the root causes. So we do that not just for suicide, but for everything. So whether it's bullying, whether it's using cigarettes, whether it's alcohol, we're taking a look at what are root causes, and geez, what are some programs that can help mitigate some of that. And so almost anything, the out of school time programs and the summer programs help with, because a lot of times preventing bad things is really just the basic good stuff of helping people feel connected, helping people feel involved. And we know when we work together, we can make a huge difference. Tracking these data over a course of 10 years, we are still, even after the pandemic closures, we're still, as a county, better off than we were in 2013 as far as risk factors go. And when we really started to work together, you can see the number from 2013 to 2015, there's another county to the south of us that we compare to. We used to be worse, but just when we really started to work together, when those first 21st century grants came in and really started to pull people together to work together after school, every grade level got better. We started to outperform the other county, and now you can see if you look back to their data from 2023 to 2013, for the most part, in fact, nope, every single time, they're worse than they were before the pandemic, and we slid back a little bit, but we didn't slide back all the way. So one way to say that is, even after the challenges of the building closures, and even after the increases of poverty, because as adults, we are coming together to work really hard to help make good things happen for our kids, it's better to grow up here now than it was 10 years ago. And that's what the data are saying. And I'm not saying that as adults, you might not feel those differences and feel those challenges, but what I'm telling you is, you are somehow getting in the way of those bad things happening. So if you're feeling that struggle and you're feeling that stress, then know that you're getting the job done. And, you know, there's just another bar chart to explain all that. Community schools then, again, we just want to connect, whether it's around mental health, whether it's around health and wellness, whether it's around academics. You know, we heard like the partnership with the college. We would consider that community schools, finding a community partner and engaging. So our career carnival gets young people out to careers. Our food pantries helps make sure that young people are able to access food when they need it. Our Get Ready to Grow screening is our early childhood screenings that are really helping identify when young people need to connect with a physician to maybe check on their eyes and ears. And we've got our study work program that some of you may have heard of, that we're really working on trying to make it possible for young people to come to school and get to work. This is a newer program as far as the growth. We've really kind of, again, I'll let you read through these slides later on your own if you have time, and that addresses some of the, I'm gonna skip some of the reporting. It's all really positive stuff they're saying, like 97% of the youth said they're more likely to take responsibility for their actions. And this has been a couple of years in a row, we're getting good numbers like that. But this program has grown tremendously. We're having a tough time keeping up with the growth, to be honest. We've gone from about 41 youth to 410. So if you know anybody that's in the program and they're like, well, they dropped this or they bobbled that, yeah, we probably did, because we're working really hard to try and keep up with that. But young people really do want to work. But how do they work without transportation? How do they work around a sports schedule? How do they work with the various challenges they may have? We're trying to answer that. And so when you're thinking about community schools, it's a big national idea. It's got statewide backing. It's got regional and county support. But most of all, for you all, it matters, what does it look like here? And as complicated as all that stuff is, and as long-winded as I was, it really is just a ham and cheese sandwich. It's the community and the school coming together here to make this the best place possible for the kids that live here to grow up, because they're only a kid one time. And they don't know about complicated things like budgets or politics or policy or this or that. So as adults, it's our job to take those things, to wrangle them, and to provide them the environment that they need to grow up. And I am seeing that happen with excellence here at Red Creek, from the exemplary UPK and pre-K work that happens in this district, from the excellent out-of-school time programming, from the constant engagement and outreach to see what resources can we find. And I just want you to know that whether we're expanding across county to county, like in Cayuga County, or whether staying right in Wayne County, I'm very glad to help you. But it will never be for community schools, anything that comes in and says, you know, community school says you have to do this. It's not that kind of thing. What it is like, what do the young people need here? What do the families saying the needs are? What do the staff, what do the data saying? And how can we draw resources in that can be shaped and organized in a way that meet the needs of young people and families? That's what we got.
Questions? I don't know how much time he gave you. I feel like that was a lot. So we might need to come back to you with questions.
Yeah. No, I packed it a ton, and that's actually, Matt said, like, he texted, like, Jen and Matt would text, like, these are too many slides. I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to send them so they can look at them later. And then I feel
Probably like they look comatose after 10 to 15 minutes anyway, so.
Well, you guys got a lot. So, full disclosure, I was a Board of Education member in SOTUS for a few years. And I know that, you know, I get the presentations and later I think on them. A lot of times I would go back. So I put some links in there. You can go through it. If you got questions, you know, Matt can get a hold of me. And I'm certainly glad to come back. And I think if you're going to the community schools advisory boards that these guys are running, that's where you're going to see a lot of the community schools discussion happening. And they're going to know. They brought me in probably just for whatever, to make me feel good about myself. But these guys know all this stuff. They really do. And I'm glad to help, and I'm accessible if you need me. But the most important thing you know is that community schools is a mechanism that really says, hey, the school a lot of times knows what the needs are. And yeah, the school's responsible for all the kids, but there's a whole social obligation. All of society really should be involved in helping meet those needs. And keep in mind that New York State funds over 90 different agencies. Schools are just one of them. So there's a lot of tax dollars out there that you have somebody here, there'll be a bunch of adults that are going like, oh my God, can we get some help? There's too many kids. And somewhere there's an adult sitting in an office going like, gosh, there's nothing to do. No one's coming up for their appointments. So if we bring that person and we put them here, we're spending the same amount as taxpayers, only now our resources are focused in a way that they're making a difference, and that's really what we're trying to do.
I do have one specific question.
Sure.
You made a comment about the question that I asked about the kids being able to go to the Sheldon Institute. Did you, I just want to make sure that I understood you. Did you say that if we needed more funds that we're hoping that someone else had extra that we would be able to use or something? I didn't catch that.
The way I said it is like, when you heard that, you were like, they just said, hey, we took kids, and I was so impressed that you were like, but did you take them all?
Well, thank you.
Did everybody that wanted to go get a chance to go? And that kind of thinking is community schools thinking, because what it is like, wait a minute, if there's somebody that wanted to go and they couldn't go, we gotta make a way for them to go. And so it might be that, you know, you look at the general budget and go, geez, maybe the school can chip in for that field trip next year. Or it might be, hey, Jay, can you help us find a grant? Because we wanna take more kids to this institute.
Okay.
And next year, but what that, I guess the key thing is that doesn't happen without caring adults, especially adults that are in leadership positions, noticing those things, asking those questions, and advocating for those resources. So that was a very specific example of exactly what community schools thinking is. Geesh, more of our kids could go if we had more slots. What do we gotta do to get more slots?
Thank you. I appreciate you explaining that. Honestly, I thought that your comment was more about that there were other schools that might have extra funding that would give us money towards that, and I thought, geez, well, let's take all of their money. And I don't want to give any of our money away, but you should tell your other Wayne County people to give it to us.
No, but that's exactly, but on the other hand.
Who would do that, though? I mean, don't give any of our money away, Jen.
No.
Jay gives away.
Oh.
Just called me 2 days ago and said, can you send us some more?
But it's just interesting. That's what I got from your comment.
But the thing is like too often, and man, I'm sorry for taking too much time, just moving out, but too often what happens is like, you know, a program comes in. You know, community schools isn't a program, it's a strategy, right? It's a way to think about how can we get this done. And oh, geez, it's not just what do we have in our school budget, but what's in all the New York State budgets? What's in the federal budgets? What do these private donors have? What do these millionaires have? What do these, you know, and whether it's small things like doing a chicken barbecue, to get money for, you know, the vending machine, the book vending machine, to buy some more books for that or something, or whether it's writing a multi-million-dollar grant, you know, we do whatever it takes to get our kids what they need. So if, what I would say is like, if there's school districts that were gonna buy slots that they couldn't fill them, that's exactly what we would wanna do, is say, hey, can you guys fill them? We can't fill these, and we do that kind of thing sometimes.
No, that's good to know, because I think sometimes sitting up here, the phrase community schools is just thrown around a lot, almost like it's doing the funding, but this, at least for me, was helpful to understand that when you use the word mechanism, it made it a little bit more clear on actually what the function is. So.
Yeah, and what's great is that it's a, like a lot of things that are growing and evolving, it can mean different things to different people, but at the end of the day, it's a strategy. And so when we say Wayne County Community Schools, it's really the 11 stars around the apple are the 11 districts, that it's us thinking about, geez, how can we do some of these things together? If just Sodas or just Red Creek or just Clyde Savannah applied for a $3 million a year federal grant, we wouldn't get it. But when we banded together and said, we all need this, now we're as big as some other larger districts that we're competing with, and we've got the number of students to say, hey, and then they send it down and we work it out. We send to Red Creek, checks from SOAS to cover, tutoring or to, whatever it may be. And also, the 21st Century Grants, Red Creek has its own now. It used to be part of a consortium. What happened is the funding changed. New York State changed the rules on that. And we used to write all together, but we kind of got together as districts, and I was the one that said it. I kind of said, look guys, we have to compete on our own. They've changed the structures where if we compete together, it's gonna hurt our chances, not help our chances. So it was a tough decision a few years ago, because the 21st Century Grant was really holding us all together, and I hated to let go of that, but I was worried that if we all competed together, it would actually, again, just the way they structured the funding, I don't wanna get all into the details of it, but all the grants have pages and pages of small print, and there's little technicalities to them. We had to write individually, so like North Rosawoka used to have 21st Century and doesn't, Clyde Savannah used to and doesn't, Red Creek won. I'm always glad to make this presentation in a district that won, it's tougher when I don't. But that was because like I couldn't, but we used to all say, but for this full service community schools grant, the federal grant, it made the most sense to compete together, and we did go in together on this one. So community schools is the name of a specific grant, but more than that, it's the name of a strategy, an enduring strategy, like I said, it goes back a long time. And it really just means, take care of the kids that live right here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Matt knows I'm glad to talk anytime, just, ask. And it's the shutting up that's hardest. So.
Thank you, Jay.
Give Nancy just a second. There's no picture of the change. Thank you, ladies. Okay. You okay to keep going? She's ready. Okay, we're gonna move on to the minutes from the meeting of August 7th. Could I have a motion, please? Mrs. Dingman, and a second by Mrs. Decker. Any questions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, moving on. I would take the 1 through 4, all the financial reports if
So moved.
Dingman and Decker again, please. Questions on this group? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I was trying to figure out why Danielle was standing up there. So, no, thank you. Okay, moving on. I would take a motion for the consent agenda, if
Take a
Mrs. Dingman.
motion for the consent agenda, items 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3? And a second? Mrs. Foltz? Questions about this group?
Can I just get clarification about what a lead teacher's role is?
So lead teacher, some schools might call them department chairs. Several years ago, we shifted the model from a department chair to the model of a lead teacher. And the semantics behind that were really focused around curriculum, instruction, leadership from that person. So what we had found historically here was the department chair often was the senior member of a department, but might not necessarily be looked at as an instructional leader in that department. So the semantic change of a lead teacher comes down to their ability to lead their department instructionally, not just balancing a budget for buying supplies for the department. That shift to instructional leadership, and so they work with Jen once a month. All of our lead teachers, that long list of lead teachers, works with Jen once a month, and again, it's focused around big picture curriculum ideas. And then from there, they take that information and break it back down into their individual grade level or department, depending on where they are as a group, for some of that ground level work. So again, really curriculum and instruction based, not just budget ordering based.
So it's not really any sort of like mentoring.
Nope.
Or like any sort of, it's not really a leadership role, it's kind of just a liaison between Jen and the team with their curriculum.
Yeah, no mentoring. We have the mentoring program that we appoint mentors to. I think it's tonight. as well. So that's just kind of separate. One of the things that we had found years ago with some grants actually around some teacher leadership work was trying to part out the mentoring work and the instructional leadership. And some of the departments, depending on the size of those departments, were really challenging to meet the needs of all of those things within having one person do all of those things. So mentor teachers is separate and they get the individual attention that they need. And then as a department, they're working together with their lead teacher on goal setting, curriculum, data review, aligning instructional and curriculum practices within the grade level or the department.
Okay. I just have one more question. So when you choose like a grade level lead teacher, is that like sort of like a volunteer, like the grade level gets together and is like, oh, like Kate's probably the best contact person, like I don't really wanna do it, so we're gonna have Kate do it, or I think you'd make a great one, by the way.
Sure.
Or is it like somebody, like they have to apply for it, or?
Yeah, every year we post those positions. They're competitive. Several of these positions will have more than one person apply from the same department. And, they follow an interview process to be selected. And again, the questions at the interview time are about instructional leadership and their vision around getting that team together to work on whatever their problems are. So it has created a lot of internal conversation and discussion about, well, geez, maybe I could be an instructional leader. It gives some of our teachers some upward mobility to dive into staff leadership as opposed to only working with children. This gives them an opportunity to also work and lead adults. So it's, I think we're always looking to provide some of our teachers who have visions, aspirations, professional aspirations, some steps to prepare them for those things. So this also does that.
I just have a quick question that I
Yes.
didn't think of until right now. Do we have a plan for the substitute administrator? Is there a need for that, I suppose?
I wouldn't
I think
say.
it would be to give Mr. Thomas a break. I think it's great.
Yes.
I hope he's watching.
Similar to our substitute teachers and substitute other positions, it's good to have a bank of those available. Oftentimes, our administrators have regional meetings or trainings outside of the district, and the substitute administrators really provide some stability, some visibility to diffuse situations, maybe contact families at home, even if they don't provide final resolutions to those situations. It's still reassuring as a family member to get a call from an administrator and say, hey, something occurred today with your child, instead of your child coming home and reporting that and then not getting a call for 24 hours from the administrator. In this case, Tim, of course, Tim was our high school principal and left here to become a superintendent at another district and retired over 12 months ago, and took 12 months and really kind of decompressed and reached out to me this summer and said, hey, I'm interested. So it's an as needed thing. It's infrequent, but it's welcomed when we can have that. It's not a luxury that we've always had. So to have a small bank of those is valuable to us.
You can. Other questions? I have to say, I think it was great to see Mr. Gaffney's name on here, because anytime that we have people come back from other districts, it's always really great to see homegrown people come back here, so kudos to adding him on here. Okay, other questions before we vote?
Can we amend? Or we can't?
Are you looking to make, you would need to ask Mrs. Stigman.
Are we making,
Mrs. Kaiser's asking for an amendment to your motion.
To change to E1 through 3 minus 219.
What?
Okay, so it,
All of it except for if we go to E2 19.
19.
No, there is a lot on there.
219.
I'll make,
Did these
make that
numbers change
amendment.
with the reduction?
Oh, it's gone.
But what?
Did we remove this? Did those numbers change though?
No.
So they're just, 4 and 5 just aren't on here now?
They're still on mine, so I don't.
4 and 5 are still on.
Are still, so their numbers have not been
Just
reassigned?
stricken.
Okay, okay. I just wanted, because that would have changed then.
Yeah.
Mrs. Dingman, are you?
yes.
Okay, Mrs. Who was the other one?
Yes.
Would you second that? Okay. Questions? When you're ready.
Mrs. Decker?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Mrs. Dingman?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Foltz?
Yes.
And Mrs. Madigan?
Yes. Thank you. Could I have a motion, please? Mrs. Decker? And Mr. Joyce, do you wanna, I'm assuming it's for E219?
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Okay. Any questions? When you're ready.
Mrs. Foltz?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaiser?
No.
Mrs. Dingman?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Mrs. Decker?
Yes.
And Mrs. Madigan?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Does someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion F1 through 7.
I would, willing to take them off. I can second for Mrs. Kaiser. Questions on this group? Okay, when you're ready.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Dingman?
Yes.
Mrs. Decker?
Yes.
Mrs. Foltz?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
And Mrs. Madigan?
Yes. Thank you. Administrative reports, were there any questions on these?
I just had
Yes,
a
Mrs.
question
Schwartz.
on, for Mr. Welcher on the athletics numbers.
Yes.
Do you have an idea on how that compares to last fall? In terms of
We
that?
are, where the bodies are moved around a little bit, but we have 6 more people registered right now than we did last year at this time.
Have the numbers increased since the report came out?
I'm not sure what you mean.
You sent me a report about a week or so ago.
Well, it's about the same. We lost a few, gained a few.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been on the phone and went to freshman orientation and was making friends with some kids, and so we're about the same.
We're shipping them from out of the country.
Yeah, so I've lost a few, gained a few, so it's about the same.
Other questions?
So not a question, but a comment. I know that we haven't covered this in here yet, but it was really nice tonight to go to the athletic, the meet the coaches night, and freshman orientation. It just seems like everything seems really positive, and it's really nice to like have that for the kids to, and the parents to be able to put a face to a name with the coaches and stuff. So thank you for
Yeah, it was a
coordinating
good
that.
format tonight.
Yeah, I would ditto that. Plus being in the same room with other athletic parents and students was different.
Yep.
And I thought it would be chaotic, but it actually, I thought it was really
It's been
great.
a bit since we've done that like general session, and it's really valuable to have everybody there at the same time, and it's so nice to see, go off on a tangent, how happy the kids are to see each other. You can see that at freshman orientation, and you can see that at, in the auditorium, so that's what's.
You have to remember that on Wednesday when they come in.
Yeah. It's nice to see.
Thursday.
Yeah. No, it was really great job.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Van Orman, you're up.
Great. A couple things that are not included in my admin reports, or my correspondence reports. One, I just wanted to give a special shout out and thank you to the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. Earlier in August, they came in and did active shooter training with in our building. It's the first time they had done that type of emergency scenario training work in our building. There were, I'll say approximately 25 law enforcement members that were here for training. I guess my personal belief is anytime we can allow our law enforcement members access to our facility to familiarize themselves with the halls and the nooks and the crannies. They were working on details around the door placement in a room. If it's in the corner of a room versus if it's in the middle of the room. I was fortunate enough to be able to kind of sit shotgun with them on some of their training exercises and to see them and the work that they do with that. It's very disconcerting to see some of that work take place in a school setting, unfortunately. But at this day and age, it's necessary. So I wanted to thank the Wayne County Sheriff's Office and all the law enforcement members from a variety of places that came into that training. I thought that was wonderful. As the President Madigan just indicated, Wednesday, next Wednesday, our students come back to school for us. So Tuesday will be our staff day. All staff will report on Tuesday for their work day. And then we will welcome students on Wednesday, and we are very excited to have them back in the hallways. So it'll as you had just indicated, smiles and conversation and all of the positive things that we see when having young children in the school, we'll get all that in its full glory on Wednesday. So in addition, the papers that I provided in here, again, kind of in the spirit of bringing Jay and talking about that model of community schools, we have a lot of vendors and service providers that we bring into the school for a variety of different things. And again, we talk about them or we mention them by name or by service. And I just wanted to provide that list to you folks. And you'll see that it's fairly extensive in its totality. And I think it's important to remember that basically all of those things are not funded through our general fund. Most of them are not funded through our general fund. So we gain a lot of outside support that we might not be able to provide with our general funding. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Same thing with the 21st century in the community schools overview sheets, just the hierarchy, where the flow of information comes from. As you heard, Jay tonight is an outstanding advocate for Wayne County and schools within Wayne County. He's been a friend and a partner with Red Creek for a number of years, and that partnership pays off in terms of our ability to have access and knowledge about grants and funding and opportunities for our children and our students. So, everybody benefits from that model of community schools. So I thought I would kind of pass that information along. And then, as we just alluded to Mr. Welcher, we've kicked off our fall sports practices this week, and numbers are up, as he reports, ever so slightly, but up from last year.
Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the committee updates. Anybody want to go first?
I can go for the policy. The policy committee has been convening on a monthly basis, and we have now reached the stage where we're systematically reviewing the quarterly policy updates provided by Erie One BOCES. This evening, we completed our review of the 1000 series, and we'll next proceed to examine the 2000 series, and followed by the 3000 and forward. Given the comprehensive nature of these documents, some sections are quite extensive and might require a month or two for a thorough review. If anyone wants to follow along, the policies that are being reviewed can be found on the board docs under meetings. policy committee.
So those are being uploaded there when you guys,
Are reviewing.
Okay.
Mhm.
great, thank you.
Did anybody else have anything?
Anybody else? Got a lot of geese going on here lately.
'Tis the season.
The kids are running around, so
If you've been to a soccer
Right,
game
yeah.
at Red Creek, you know we have geese.
I can go for community relations, so spoke to Mr. Van Omen via email, and I think it was thrown out there, the idea of putting up some sort of form on the school's website to be able to recognize individuals within the district. I don't know if it would be appropriate to connect with, is it Zach is our new PR person?
It is.
Perhaps to just help kick that off, whether it's, administrators suggesting our first person or, I'm happy to help get that going however we can. The other thing I just mentioned was potentially looking at timing for different programs throughout the school year and looking at staff that are most involved with those programs as a way to kind of promote the programs as well as the person involved. So just looking at that and making sure that we're kind of being strategic in that sense as well. If we open it up to others, we might have an influx, which would be great, but trying to kind of time that out would be a good thing. So happy to connect with Zach further on that.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Folds? All right.
Mr. Welcher did a great job in his update, so I don't have much for the Community Center Advisory Board. The bylaws continue to be reviewed, and we're nearing the end of that process. We're waiting to hear back from council on a couple questions that we had. But then also some really great news is that with a particular grant that has become available, we're able to purchase 8 new pieces of equipment for the fitness room. So that's a really fun and exciting tidbit to share. So yeah.
Can't wait to hear from others how that goes.
Kim, when you say waiting to hear from council, is that the school attorney?
Correct.
Or do you, okay. Okay. Any questions for Mrs. Allen? Anybody have anything else? Okay, well, Ollie would like to speak on advocacy just for a minute because we have the NISBA conference coming up in October. I'm gonna skip right over school safety because I was not involved in the shooter training thing, which was fantastic. Okay, so just really quick, I've spoken to Mr. Van Orman, and if you had committed to attending, the rooms have been reserved.
That's correct.
Obviously, there's an opportunity to cancel if anyone changes their mind that said they were going and have not. So just keep that in mind if your schedule changes. We narrowed it down to try to figure out 2 options for transportation. So if anyone that's interested could let me know if they would prefer to, I guess, carpool down, or if they're willing to fly. We think that probably that would be the best option as far as lowest cost to the district. We check some flights, and depending on gas prices, I assume won't be dropping dramatically in the next 2 months. That might actually be the more economical choice, but that's all really going to depend on how many people want to do which way. So when we leave tonight, if you could just let me know kind of which way you're leaning, and then we could kind of run some numbers and see what that looks like.
Is the district vehicle available if you guys wanted to ride together?
It is, it just wouldn't be for everyone. Yeah, like quantity wise, I guess.
How many are going?
It's 7, right?
Oh,
Because you didn't change your mind back.
No, I'm still not going.
Yeah. Right. So, if it stands the way it is now, so. Okay, the only other thing I wanted to bring up, if you wanted to contribute to the Sunshine Fund, if you could give that money to Mr. Van Orman, that was in the correspondence. And, reminder that we're all invited to opening day, to the first part of the day and lunch if you are interested in that. Any questions on that?
What part of the day are we invited to? Is it just the breakfast part, or?
Well, if anyone wants to come and have me not play Mrs. Fold's video that she made last year, I'm only gonna play that during.
You are.
just Stephanie's over and over again.
I completely blocked that.
I play it in my house. So there's the opening piece when there's new announcements for new staff and things like that. Last year, for those of us that were there was some, and I think Mrs. Devaney did an icebreaker type thing. There was an opportunity for us to be there and kind of listen. We don't participate in any of the training sessions, but the first part, there was a section in between. I think it's hard to rule it down to a specific time because things run over. But in the past, the board has always paid for the lunch, which is why I think we're invited back for it. So there would be an opportunity to possibly leave and then come back if you're interested. So yeah, we'll just play it all through lunch, Stephanie, over and over again. Anything else? Okay, I would take a motion to adjourn, please. Mrs. Digman and a second by Mrs. Decker. Thank you very much.